All right, Cosmic Seekers, welcome to Gnostic Groove. This is Neo. Let's rip the veil off this scam. The education system? It's a straight-up matrix prison, designed by the Archons, those Gnostic shadow rulers, to keep us dumb and docile. Gnostic texts, like the Apocryphon of John, say the world's a trap, a fake reality crafted to block our divine spark. Schools aren't about enlightenment, they're about control. They cram kids' heads with garbage, dates of wars, math equations you'll never use, and endless rote memorization to make you a cog in the machine, not a free soul seeking truth. Think about it. Why do we spend 12 years memorizing state capitals or the periodic table? It's not to make you wise, it's to break your spirit. The Gospel of Thomas talks about finding the light within, but schools drown that out with busywork, training kids to obey, not question. The system's rigged to churn out workers who won't rebel against the elite's agenda. Gnosis, true knowledge, comes from meditation, inner silence, connecting to the divine. Schools don't teach that. They teach you to trust the system, not your soul. This goes deeper. The Archons, as Gnostic texts reveal, fear humans waking up. So, the education system is built to distract, flooding you with pointless facts to keep you from asking big questions like, who am I really? Or, what's this world hiding? It's a factory for bricks in the wall, like Pink Floyd said, programming you to be a compliant employee, not a spiritual warrior. Ever wonder why schools don't teach meditation or question the 9-to-5 grind? Because that would break the Matrix's spell. The elite know the truth. They study esoteric knowledge, Gnostic secrets, mysticism, while feeding us crumbs. Look at the Rockefellers. They funded modern education to create obedient workers, not free thinkers. It's all out there in declassified docs from the early 1900s. Schools are a psyop, a deliberate tool to keep you plugged into their fake reality, chasing grades instead of your inner divinity. True Gnosis? That's found in stillness, in rejecting the noise. The Pistis Sophia says salvation comes from knowing the self, not parroting textbooks. Meditation lets you tap into the Pleroma, the divine fullness, but the system fears that. They want you stressed, distracted, and scrolling, not awake. Ever tried meditating and felt something shift inside? That's what they don't want you to know. We're diving deep into the matrix, exposing how schools were built to churn out obedient workers, not free spirits chasing Gnostic truth. Picture this, it's the early 1900s, and John D. Rockefeller, he pumps millions into the General Education Board, founded in 1902 with a cool $1 million, eventually pouring in over $180 million to shape schools across America. Why? To mold a nation of worker bees, not thinkers who might question his empire. The education system's structure, those rigid 8-hour school days, ain't a coincidence. It's a mirror of the factory shift, prepping kids for a life of clocking in and out, slaving away for the elites. The setup mimics the industrial workday, bells ringing to signal class changes like factory whistles, rows of desks like assembly lines, and a curriculum that drills compliance over creativity. Let's break it down. The 8-hour school day, typically from 8 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m., aligns eerily with the standard 8-hour work shift that became the norm during the Industrial Revolution. This wasn't about learning, it was about conditioning. Kids sit through hours of memorizing facts, useless dates, formulas, and rules, training them to follow orders, not to think critically or tap into their inner gnosis. The Gospel of Thomas says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you." But schools? They bury that spark, replacing it with standardized tests and busywork. Ever notice how schools reward kids who sit quietly and regurgitate facts, not those who ask big, dangerous questions? That's by design. Rockefeller's influence wasn't just funding. His General Education Board pushed a standardized model, squashing alternative systems that encouraged free thought or creativity. Think about the Prussian model, which inspired American schools in the 1800s. It was all about discipline, obedience, and producing soldiers and workers. Rockefeller and his pal Andrew Carnegie saw this and ran with it, turning schools into factories for human capital. A chilling quote, often tied to Rockefeller's advisor Frederick T. Gates, sums it up. "We shall not try to make these people, or any of their children, into philosophers or men of learning or of science." Bam. That's the game plan. Keep the masses useful, not enlightened. Here's where it gets darker. The system's structure, those long, repetitive days, mimics the exhaustion of a factory job to break kids' spirits early. You're stuck in a classroom, just like you'll be stuck in a cubicle, learning to tolerate monotony. Schools don't teach you how to meditate, question reality, or find your divine spark, like the Gnostic Pistis Sophia urges with, "Seek the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Instead, they overload you with homework and tests to keep you too busy to think. Ever wonder why there's no class on spiritual awakening or how to see through the matrix? Because the elites, Rockefeller's heirs, the globalists, want you plugged in. In the early 1900s, the General Education Board funded teacher training to ensure educators followed the script, churning out compliant citizens. They even meddled in Southern schools, tying education to agriculture, to keep rural folks tied to the land, not dreaming big. This wasn't about uplifting. It was about control. Fast forward to today, and the system's still at it. Look at Common Core, another standardized push to make kids think alike, not question the status quo. The 8-hour school day drills the same rhythm as a job. Show up, shut up, and do what you're told. It's psychological prep for wage slavery. They sought to overpower humanity in its creation, enslaving them in a world of illusion. That's the education system in a nutshell, a tool of the Archons, the elite, keeping us trapped in a fake reality. Schools don't teach you to meditate or seek Gnosis, because that would free you from their grip. Instead, they bombard you with trivia to clog your mind, leaving no room for the inner truth the Nag Hammadi texts scream about. Here's another example: the grading system. It's not about learning, it's about ranking kids, like products on a conveyor belt. A's go to the good workers who memorize and obey. D's and F's shame the rebels who think for themselves. This mirrors corporate life. Perform or you're out. The Gospel of Philip says, "Truth is the mother, knowledge the father." But schools don't nurture truth. They enforce compliance, prepping you for a life of chasing paychecks, not purpose. And don't sleep on the hidden agenda. The Rockefellers and their ilk studied esoteric knowledge, occult teachings, maybe even Gnostic secrets, but kept it from the masses. While they explored the mysteries, they fed us a dumbed-down curriculum to keep us docile. Ever notice how schools skip philosophy, metaphysics, or anything that might make you question reality? That's not an accident. They want you focused on getting a job, not breaking free from the matrix. Schools won't save you. They're built to enslave you. The kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. From the Gospel of Thomas. Why waste years memorizing nonsense when you could be unlocking divine truth? All right, truth seekers. We've ripped the mask off the education system, and it's time to face the truth. This machine, built by Rockefeller and his elite cronies, isn't here to set you free. It's here to chain you to the matrix. Those 8-hour school days, the endless memorization of pointless facts, the bells and schedules mirroring factory shifts. They're not about learning, they're about control. The system doesn't want you to think for yourself, to ask the big questions. Who am I? What's my place in the universe? Why am I here? No, they want you docile, obedient. The Gnostic texts, like the Gospel of Thomas, scream it. The kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. But schools? They drown that truth in a flood of useless trivia. State capitals, quadratic equations, dates of battles that mean nothing to your soul. They keep you too busy, too stressed, too tired to look inward and find the real knowledge, the Gnosis that sets you free. This isn't an accident. The Archons, those shadow rulers from the Nag Hammadi texts, thrive on your ignorance. They don't want you meditating, seeking self-knowledge, or questioning the fake reality they've spun. The education system is their tool, hammering you into a brick in the wall, as Pink Floyd nailed it. It's why there's no class on introspection, no lessons on how to connect with the divine Pleroma, no space for you to discover who you really are. Instead, they shove standardized tests down your throat, grading you like a product, training you to chase approval, not truth. The hypostasis of the Archons warns they sought to overpower humanity in its creation, enslaving them in a world of illusion. That's the game. Keep you plugged in, distracted, and far from the light. And let's talk about the stupid gap they force on you. Take something as random as memorizing the parts of a cell in biology. Mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, whatever. Hours spent drilling that nonsense. But when do they teach you to question your purpose? To sit in silence and hear your inner voice? Never. That gap between what you're forced to learn and what actually matters is deliberate. It's there to keep you from asking, why does this world feel so wrong? Or what's beyond this matrix? The elites know the answers. They study the occult, the mysteries, the hidden truths. But they lock you out, feeding you scraps to keep you compliant. So, wake up. Stop letting the system define you. You're not a worker bee, not a brick in their wall. You're a divine being with a spark of the infinite inside you. The Pistis Sophia says it best. Seek the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Ditch the script they wrote for you. Turn off the noise, meditate, dive into your soul, and read those Gnostic texts. Find the light within, because that's where the real education begins. The system won't hand you freedom. You've got to claim it. Start now. Ask yourself, who are you, really? And don't stop until you know. Stay woke. Stay free. Until next time, this is Neo, over and out.